Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Housing Equity Candidate Forum for the City of Bellevue Council Position 1 primary race. In alphabetical order, we're joined tonight by all four candidates: Vishal Bhargava, Eddie Chang, Paul Clark, and Nicholas Ton. Thank you to all our candidates for being here and to everyone watching. My name is Ivana Dagala, and I'll be your moderator this evening. This forum is presented by the Eastside Housing Equity Coalition, which is made up of Indian American Community Services, Eastside for All, Muslim Community Network Association, and the Housing Development Consortium. We share information in the chat for those who'd like to learn more about the organizations and the candidates. As I said, my name is Yvonne, and affordable housing is a very important topic to me. One, because it was one of my first topics when I joined Leadership Eastside that we decided to delve into and see what we could do to answer the question. And that was almost 8 years ago. And yet here we are still trying to answer a question that's really important to our area, to our region, and more importantly, to the city of Bellevue that's expecting to grow by almost 80,000 people over the next few years. With that introduction, I would like to get started and pose a question to the candidates. They're going to answer in alternating order. We'll be starting with, we'll be going by alphabetical order as we go through the questions. And the questions have been curated by the event organizers based on issues the communities have prioritized. We ask that the candidates stay within the response times and the response limits for those questions, and that will range between 30 and 90 seconds. This is not a debate format, so there won't be any rebuttals. For all our guests watching, we invite you to share your takeaways for tonight with your families and your friends. All right, let's begin with introductions. Each candidate will have 60 seconds. Please share about yourself and why you decided to run for office at this time. And we will start with candidate Bhargava.
Yes, thank you, Yvonne. I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Hopefully you can hear me okay. Good evening, everyone. My name is Vishal Bhargava, and I'm running to retain my seat on the Bellevue City Council. I have a background in architecture, a master's degree in urban planning, and I've worked in urban planning and development for nearly a decade. I've called Bellevue my home for 12 years, and I have served in the Planning Commission for the last 5 years, including as chair of the commission during our 2020 the recent comprehensive plan update, and I currently serve in the Bellevue City Council in Position 1. This combination of technical expertise and community experience gives me unique insight into how we can create more housing opportunities through smart policy. I've seen how restrictive zoning and complex development processes have contributed to our housing challenges, and I know how to address them. My vision is a Bellevue where density becomes a tool for creating more housing options, where families across income levels can afford to live here, where workers don't have to commute hours to serve our community, and where housing policy serves community needs. I'm running because incremental approaches haven't matched the scale of our housing crisis. I'm committed to achieving policies that create real housing opportunities for everyone who wants to call Bellevue home. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And next we'll go to candidate Chang.
Hello, everybody. My name is Eddie Chang. Bellevue is a place that's more than just a place on the map for me. It's where I grew up, where I went to school, and now where I'm raising my own children. After 19 years immersed in Bellevue's real estate market, working with families, couples, and business owners, I've seen firsthand the opportunities and pressing challenges facing our community. I'm running for city council because I'm ready to bring my practical experience and deep commitment to servant leadership to City Hall. My priorities are clear. We need more affordable housing options, accessible and affordable childcare, strong support for our small businesses, a cleaner environment for future generations, and a safer community for us all. I believe in transparent, collaborative solutions that ensure Bellevue continues to be a vibrant, thriving city that works for every resident. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Chang. And next we go to candidate Ton.
All right, thank you, Yvonne. Or wasn't it
I
I'll
mean,
go.
it's like, yeah, it was supposed to be candidate Clark. Sorry about that.
Yeah, well,
So which do you want to go right now?
We'll go with candidate Clark and then come back to you, candidate Han. I apologize for that oversight.
Oh, yeah, no worries. Thank you again for being here. My name is Paul Clark. I'm an engineer, author, instructor, and small business owner living with my wife and daughter on the edge of downtown Bellevue in a 1978 era duplex. We're a one-car household, walk to grocery stores, parks, my daughter's favorite ramen restaurant. I'm excited about growth in new housing, not in someone else's backyard, but in mine. With most of the new housing going into growth corridors like the one I'm talking to you from right now, I believe our council needs someone with skin in the game, living the consequences of our policies day to day. Additionally, my 7 years on the Parks Board has shown me how essential parks and trails are to well-being, especially in urban spaces. We need to expand them in our dense and underserved areas. And finally, I want to ensure that everyone who lives, works, or visits Bellevue feels safe. Our city has a vision statement starting with the words, "Bellevue welcomes the world. Diversity is our strength." Without first ensuring safety, however, no one will feel welcome. Excuse me, no one will feel welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Clark. And now to you, candidate Ton.
all right, thank you. So hello, my name's Nicholas Ton, and I'm the youngest person here, running at 30 years old, running for Bellevue City Council, right? And I'm here because I think we need representatives who understand what it's like for working families trying to make it in this area. And when I say that, I'm running on a platform and a campaign that's putting our working families first, front and center. That's my priority. That's what I'm here to do. And when I say working families, I'm talking about parents who are struggling with childcare costs, families who are trying to keep up with rising utility bills, and young people who have been priced out of home ownership here, priced out of building a life here. I've got ideas that I want to try. I've got solutions that I think might work. And at the base of everything that I do is that I have a goal of just trying to make life here a little bit easier for the people that live here now and the people that will live here in the future.
Thank you, candidate Ton. We'll go on to our next question. And we all know we're experiencing a regional housing crisis with implications for housing affordability, access, and equity. The organizers of this event recognize housing as a top need across all communities they support, including people who are unhoused and also those receiving higher incomes who are still financially strained and cost burdened. What would you say to individuals and families impacted by the housing crisis who want to know how your leadership will help them? Each of you will have 90 seconds to answer this question, and this time we'll be starting with candidate Chang. Please respond first, and then we'll go to candidates Clark, Ton, and Bhargava in that order.
Thank you, Yvonne. This housing crisis is a regional challenge, but its impact is deeply personal for our Bellevue families. I hear from parents, teachers, and even our tech workers who worry if they can continue to call this city home. My leadership will be defined by a collaborative and pragmatic approach to solving this. I will work tirelessly to bring all stakeholders to the table, community groups, developers, regional partners, and potential renters and homeowners to accelerate the creation of diverse and affordable housing options. This includes aggressively implementing the spirit of House Bill 1110 and House Bill 1337 to unlock new housing opportunities within existing neighborhoods, making our city more walkable, sustainable, while reducing traffic. We must build more homes for every income level, ensuring that Bellevue's essential workers, your children, and grandchildren aren't priced out. My commitment is to foster a housing market where accessibility and equity are not just aspirations, but reality for every single one of our residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Clark, we'll hear from you next.
Hi, yeah, the most important thing we can do is just build more housing, and that is at all levels of affordability. Ultimately, we are dealing with a market issue. Bellevue is a high demand city, and increasing market rate housing will help relieve cost pressure across the board. I think it's important that we not overpromise. We're not going to necessarily make Bellevue easily affordable for every last person who wants to come, and we have to not make some of the false and overextended promises I think I've heard too often on affordability. But we can do more and we should do more. We need more workforce housing, including affordable units at 80% AMI, as well as micro units near transit. For deeply affordable housing, 30% AMI below preserving existing units is one of the best tools we have. We also need to pursue public-private partnerships wherever possible. Deeply affordable housing is expensive and doesn't happen without subsidy. We should ensure that no one has to live unsheltered in Bellevue. Encampments in Seattle have been a disaster for individuals living there as well as nearby neighborhoods. We need to provide access to safe, stable, and secure shelter options with wraparound services to help people move towards stability. And it means continuing programs like safe parking in city-supplied lots, including the pilot we've been operating at Lincoln Center near downtown. This is a crisis with many layers, and we need solutions at every level. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ton, we'll hear from you next.
All right. I want to say I understand. This is the life that many of my friends, many of my family lead. And I'll tell you one thing we're all sick of. That's empty words and meaningless platitudes. Someone really important to all of us here said shallow understanding from people of goodwill is more frustrating than absolute misunderstanding from people of ill will. Here is an area where we need real solutions because we're talking about people who need them now. That's my advantage, and that's what I'm bringing to the table to you all. Ideas and solutions I want to put in place to make life less bleak, to make dreams more affordable, to make life more attainable here. It's not just a housing crisis that we're encountering. It's a cost of living crisis. It's a crisis where everything, year after year, keeps getting more expensive, and everybody is getting drained in all directions. There's so many things we could be doing. We could be removing taxes on essential purchases. We could be having city-run and city-funded childcare, right? When I go back to the core principle of what I stand for, that's making life cost less. Everything that we do to make less the cost of life for the everyday person, the more they can then think about their next step instead of being constantly stuck in survival mode. I want to let people be able to save up. Part of that is affordable housing. What I hate here is that there's so many people who paternalistically believe they can set the timetable for another person's dignity. There isn't a more convenient time. There isn't a more convenient season. We can and we should be and we need to be doing things now. And for the people that tell you to wait, we need to be voting them out.
Thank you, Candidate Ton. And now we'll hear from Candidate Bhargava.
Yeah, thank you. For families struggling with housing cost, I understand this has been created by policy choices. And it can be solved with better policy choices. We don't need to accept housing costs that force families to choose between staying in our community and financial stability. My approach starts with recognizing housing scarcity is often created by zoning and limits housing types and adds unnecessary complexity to development. As chair of the Planning Commission during our comprehensive plan process, I worked to allow more diverse housing options to make affordable housing easier to build and remove barriers that have reduced our housing pipeline to almost nothing right now. Wilburton is an example of what's possible when we work collaboratively. The Planning Commission navigated and modified a joint proposal that created both market rate and affordable housing, generating $13 per square foot in fees for future affordable projects. We work closely with private housing and developers, as well as affordable housing developers to find the sliver of balance for everyone. I then went through this process again while sitting on the city council. The upcoming MFTE program must be structured to provide meaningful relief while encouraging the mixed-use transit-oriented development that reduces overall housing costs. I'm working to ensure that these policies actually serve working families, not just create discounts on luxury units. On council, I'm also working on eliminating unnecessary delays and red tape that inflate construction costs. Every dollar we save in permitting inefficiencies is a dollar that we can move towards more units and greater affordability. Thank you.
Thank you for your response, Candidate Bhargava. Now that we're done with the introductory comments, we now turn to our first topic area, which is complete and connected communities. Living a healthy life is far more than just affordable and stable housing. It is also something that involves access to frequent and diverse transit options, job opportunities, amenities, public space, culturally appropriate services and businesses, and maintaining community relationships and trust with local leaders. In what ways do you see these sorts of complete communities growing? And how will you steer neighborhoods in the direction of more holistically healthy, resident-oriented development? Each of you will have 60 seconds to answer this question. And first, we'll hear from candidate Clark, and then go to candidate Ton, candidate Bhargava, and then candidate Chang.
I think it starts with understanding where most of our new housing is going to go. It needs to go into our dense transit-rich areas, areas like my neighborhood. As a business owner who works from a home office laboratory, I know how critical it is to be able to walk to the park, the store, the cafe, just for physical fitness as well as mental health. COVID really showed us this, and it hasn't stopped becoming a serious priority for folks who want to move to urban areas to have that. As light rail comes online, we must focus on housing growth near transit and employment centers where people can live and work just blocks apart. I do look forward to the community that will grow out of this, walkable, vibrant, and deeply connected. When you're constantly on the go, spending time in traffic, how much time left do you really have for forging community, participating in local groups, having dinner with friends? It's really important. And as someone living it out every day, I will make sure we get it right.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Ton.
Right. I want to start with saying I agree with the premise of the question. These are all things we should have in our neighborhoods, but what we see currently today is that we don't have them. I think we need to have a hard goal about certain things where we don't currently have, like that we need to have a grocery store, a childcare service, a neighborhood clinic, a bus line, and some form of park or plaza within a certain proximity to each home in the city. And that's something that can be done, right? When we look at the Spring District, for example, there was so much opportunity there. But what do we have now? It's just full of empty storefronts, empty storefront, and empty storefront. It's not a complete, it's barely a neighborhood. I think Spring District is a prime example that proves we have to purposefully steer development by writing the rules ourselves. I want to see us requiring new projects to include ground floor space that's reserved for neighborhood amenities, those that I mentioned before. And I want to see us refusing permits to developers who don't meet that standard. If they leave the storefronts empty, we should be able to fine them for that. That's because if we want to have the words complete community not just be a slogan, we have to make it the baseline, non-negotiable, and uncompromising expectation.
Thank you, candidate Ton. Next, candidate Bhargava.
Yeah. Complete communities require us to move beyond development patterns and separate housing from jobs, services, and daily needs. True community health means ensuring that all neighborhoods have access to amenities within walking distance, not just wealthy areas. This means updating our zoning to allow corner stores, cafes, and services in residential areas, while ensuring that affordable housing is integrated throughout our community, not concentrated in areas with fewer resources. Transit-oriented development creates both convenience and equity. When families can access jobs, healthcare, and education without needing a car, we're removing barriers to economic mobility. I've already supported strategic upzoning around transit stations and rapid ride transit, as well as housing density near economic centers of gravity. We also need to recognize that community space is essential infrastructure. As we grow, we must protect and expand libraries, community centers, and public gathering spaces that serve all residents, regardless of income. These are places where civic engagement happens and where all residents can participate in community life. My goal is creating neighborhoods where people can meet their daily needs locally while having access to a broader set of opportunities our region offers.
Thank you, candidate Bhargava. And now, candidate Chang.
Thank you. For me, complete and connected community means creating neighborhoods where residents can truly thrive without having to drive anywhere. I see these communities growing by thoughtful, integrated housing with essential services. My leadership will steer us towards mixed-use neighborhood centers where people can live, access frequent transit, find local jobs and amenities, and enjoy beautiful public spaces all within a short walk. This means strategically utilizing our tools, our land use tools like zoning, design, and form-based code to allow for more diverse housing options where they make sense, complementing existing character. By focusing on these integrated developments, we reduce traffic, lower our collective carbon footprint, and foster stronger local relationships, and thereby creating a healthier, more convenient, and more connected Bellevue for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you all for your responses. And on to our next question. So a connected neighborhood includes walkability, safe and efficient transit options, and a multimodal ease of access to nearby community assets. In 60 seconds, can you please let us know what steps you will take to ensure that our communities have their connectivity needs met? We'll start with candidate Ton, and I'll cede the floor to you.
All right, thank you. I think what we got to do first is look at what's not working. Like Belred is the prime example. It sucks. Nobody likes it. Not the bikers, not the drivers, not the people who live there, not even the businesses on the street. It's not safe to walk on, bike on, or drive on, right? And it's the core corridor for our city. It's a disgrace. We should use it as both a case study and an example of how streets should be improved. On it, I see us needing wider and better maintained sidewalks because it's connecting living spaces to businesses. It should have high frequency transit that takes people up and down for free without fares. Honestly, it's a street that it's screaming for a streetcar, and it desperately, really desperately needs a turn lane so people aren't constantly stopping in the middle of traffic and holding up everyone behind them. We need more areas for people to cross too, because it's really dangerous to do so right now. And when we do that, we see those improvements, we can use those improvements as a model for other streets and have the goal of connecting people from where they are to where they want to be in the most effective and efficient way. When we do that, we're going to see multiple things. We're going to see happier and healthier people, better businesses that are going to see more traffic and more clients because there's going to be more people looking at them, not just through their windshields, but using their eyes.
Thank you, candidate Ton. Next, we'll go to candidate Bhargava.
Yeah, thank you. Real connectivity means ensuring that transportation options serve all residents, not just those who drive. This requires us to prioritize people-focused infrastructure in our investments. First, we need to expand transit beyond bus routes. This includes micro-mobility networks, improved pedestrian infrastructure, and shuttle services that connect neighborhoods to major transit hubs. We have had a great start with Circuit and the airport shuttle. We will be soon starting to see more micro-mobility through Lime becoming available. And I'm advocated hard for active transportation through wider sidewalks and connected streets. Second, every new development should enhance walkability and connectivity for both existing and new residents. This means requiring sidewalks, safe crossings, infrastructure that supports multiple modes of transportation as standard development requirements, not optional amenities.
Okay.
Third, we're implementing, just one more point. Third, we're implementing smart infrastructure that prioritizes transit and pedestrian. This includes dedicated transit lanes, pedestrian-friendly signals, and infrastructure that supports multiple transit options.
Thank you for your response.
Thank you.
Next, we're going to candidate Chang.
Thank you. For Bellevue's communities to truly thrive, their connectivity needs must be a top priority. My commitment is to ensure that you can easily and safely access everything you need. I will lead by prioritizing strategic investments in multimodal infrastructure. This includes not only enhancing our public transit system with more frequent and expanded routes, but also systematically building out our network of safe and interconnected sidewalks and bike lanes. I'll push for policies that encourage mixed-use development, bringing essential services many closer to where people live. By focusing smart growth on smart growth that reduces trip lengths and offers diverse travel options, we'll reduce traffic congestion, lower environmental impacts, and build a more convenient and connected Bellevue where everybody can enjoy a greater freedom of movement. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Chang. Candidate Clark.
Yeah, we do need to improve walkability within and between our growth corridors, especially Wilburton, Belred, and downtown. Much of that will come naturally, but we do have to be intentional. I know from my time on the Parks Board that trails are the most requested parks amenity. They do support both recreation, health, and connectivity, and so we need to explore where we can connect neighborhoods to dense transit and walkable areas via trails when possible. Sure, we need to shape development to reduce the need for driving. Co-locating jobs and homes where possible is great, but that's not going to be feasible for every neighborhood in the city. I do look forward to longer term transportation automation. Bellevue has all of the elements to be a leader in this space. 5G infrastructure and a massive tech sector willing to innovate. We should be at the forefront of robotaxis, autonomous circulator buses, both on the public and private side.
Thank you for your response, candidate Clark. So communities don't just become complete and connected by chance. We believe it difficult and perhaps impossible to meet complex community needs without listening, authentic partnership and empowerment of the groups most impacted. So how would you plan to include community input, empowerment, and partnership as you make your decisions that impact these communities? Are there any specific measurements that you support to ensure you're hearing from everyone? Please respond in 60 seconds, and just to be respectful of everyone's time, let's try and keep our responses within the time limit that we have. We have so many to get through, and this is a really important topic. We'll start with candidate Bhargava.
Yeah, authentic community engagement means centering the voices of those most impacted by housing policy, tenants, workers, and families struggling with housing costs. During my time on the Planning Commission Council, I've worked directly with affordable housing developers, tenant advocates, and community organizations to ensure that our policy serves real community needs. Effective engagement goes beyond traditional public comment periods. It means meeting people where they are, providing childcare, interpretation services, and ensuring that participation doesn't require flexible work schedules or transportation resources for residents that may lack them. I also believe meaningful partnership, not just consultation. Community organizations like those hosting tonight's forum should have dedicated opportunities to shape policies, not just comment on decisions that have already been made. I support participatory processes and community benefit agreements that give residents direct input to our neighborhood investments. Transparency means explaining how decisions are made, who influences them, and ensuring that when we say we are listening, we're actually incorporating whatever we've heard into policy changes. Real partnership means sharing decisions and making sure underrepresented communities have a say. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. And now we go on to candidate Chang.
Hey, building complete and connected communities is an ongoing dialogue. My leadership will prioritize inclusive community input and empowerment from the onset. It will ensure that the city process for land use and development are not only transparent, but also easily understandable and accessible to everybody. This means using plain language, providing information in multiple formats, multiple languages, and investing in outreach methods that reach beyond typical channels. I would advocate for structured feedback loops where residents see how their input directly influences outcomes, fostering trust and demonstrating that their voices truly matter. My commitment is to foster genuine relationships with all community members, especially those who are most impacted by growth and change, ensuring that every decision reflects the diverse needs and aspirations of our Bellevue. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Chang. Candidate Clark, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, there's no shortcut to authentic engagement. And by that, I don't just mean great forums like tonight, which I do thank the organizers and the different groups that represent different interests in our community, but individual residents. We need to meet not just with stakeholders and community leaders, but individual residents. The quieter voices that don't think to show up or don't feel comfortable showing up and talking with somebody, they don't feel comfortable making an appointment with you at City Hall. We meet them at the door. We meet them at the park. We meet them at neighborhood picnics. That's why I knocked on 8,000 doors over the last 2 campaigns for city council. And I think I've missed something like 2 public meetings in my 7 years on the Parks Board. There is no substitute for talking directly to residents. That's why you'll see me at nearly every neighborhood event around the city throughout this campaign, because showing up consistently, especially in unexpected places, helps me better understand the community and it builds trust.
Thank you. Candidate Ton will come to you next.
All right. I think we just got to bring in more people, right? And we have to be making sure we're not listening to the same people every time. I think we got to do what we can to bring in more demographics, right? Working families, the youth, younger parents, people that aren't currently represented. And to do that, My solution is to make City Hall more accessible, right? We have to be offering on-site childcare for people that are bringing their kids or coming straight from work, snacks for people that are coming straight from work and for the kids too, right? And Orca cards, transit vouchers for people that are taking public transit in so they're not paying to give comment. And I'm not just talking about city council meetings. I think this should be extended to all public committee meetings too, right? We should also be looking into having some of these meetings at mini City Hall over in Crossroads or at our different community centers and libraries, at least once a quarter. We have the ability to do so, and we should. And it's the same with feedback for city departments. We have stuff like surveys circulated through specific communities and distribution lists where we should be posting QR codes and flyers to these surveys at every bus stop, every grocery store, every public park and public school.
Great. Thank you all for all your responses to our first topic. And now our next discussion topic is about community stability and anti-displacement. There's a clear connection between community health and the ability of people to stay in place. Stability helps people deepen their relationships, keep consistent schooling for their children, and age in place. As we see housing costs continue to increase across the Eastside, it's becoming harder for many individuals and families to stay in place. This is so salient that Bellevue's comprehensive plan identifies several policies to address anti-displacement and community stability. For example, the comp plan has policy HO32 to develop strategies to minimize displacement of marginalized populations such as rental, eviction, and foreclosure assistance programs. What anti-displacement policies would you support for growing and increasingly expansive neighborhoods? Are there any current policies or programs in place that you support or oppose? Each of you will have 90 seconds to respond to these questions, and please try to keep within the time frame. We'll start with candidate Chang.
Hey, the housing crisis is fundamentally challenging the ability of our neighbors to stay in Bellevue, whether they're unhoused or struggling with high costs. It's a regional issue with very personal implications for your family. As a city council member, I will lead with a dual approach: proactive development and targeting investments in anti-displacement. Firstly, we must aggressively pursue the creation of more diverse housing at all income levels, particularly missing middle housing and permanently affordable units. This eases market pressures across the board. Simultaneously, I would advocate for specific strategies to minimize displacement in vulnerable neighborhoods. This means exploring tools like community land trusts and neighborhood community preference to ensure new development continues to bring affordability. I will push for the city to invest in culturally appropriate services and businesses in at-risk areas, recognize that displacement isn't just economic, it's also social and cultural. We need to make sure that we need to measure our efforts, ensure accountability, and truly empower those most impacted to shape solutions that would allow them to remain in their homes and their community. Thank you.
Thank you, candidate Chang. Next, we'll go to candidate Clark.
Thank you. We do have to treat displacement as a real and urgent threat, not just for low-income renters, but also for seniors, working families, and longtime residents being priced out of the neighborhood they've called home for decades. This means strengthening and expanding rental assistance as well as utility support. These are often the fastest and most cost-effective ways to keep people housed and from falling through into a much more destabilized situation. We need to invest more in preserving existing affordable housing, buying and rehabilitating older buildings, especially what's as close as possible in Bellevue to being naturally affordable. That's a critical tool to protect these units, especially for the 30% AMI and below needs. It's cheaper than building new and prevents the churn that destabilizes families and schools. I support Bellevue's current use of fee and lieu programs, allowing developers to contribute funds to the city's affordable housing efforts. These dollars can go directly into preserving those units and helping people stay in place. But we cannot ignore another form of displacement: rising property taxes. I hear from seniors at the door who are worried they're going to be forced to sell, not because of rent hikes, but because their tax bill keeps going up. Anti-displacement means protecting them too and ensuring our affordability policies don't leave them behind. And I think it's also key to note that there's no free lunch when it comes to rent versus buy on property taxes. Property taxes go up, those will be passed on to renters.
Thank you, candidate Clark. Candidate Ton will come to you next.
All right. Yeah, in terms of anti-displacement policy, a lot of it's going to come down to affordability. And unfortunately, I think here, affordability has turned into one of those hand-wringing topics where people say a lot, but then they propose or do things that don't help very much at all. Here, I think there's a trinity of rights here that we can put in place, right? There's a right of return for tenants who get kicked out due to renovations, right? There should be a right of refusal where tenants or nonprofits get 30 days to match an offer of sale when a landlord sells a building. And there should be a right to counsel where people who have lawyers and people that know their rights, they get displaced less. But realistically, when it comes down to it, we've got to do what we can to make living cheaper, right? Because Bellevue is a prosperous city, but that prosperity is not trickling down. The displacement we talk about is the everyday squeeze, right? It's not mistaken. It's the cost of food, it's the cost of gas, it's the cost of utilities and necessities. We really just can't keep living like this, and people leave. They go somewhere else.
Thank you, Candidate Tan. Candidate Bhargava, you'll come next.
Yeah. Anti-displacement requires immediate protections, long-term strategies that help communities remain stable during growth. Change is inevitable in a growing city, but we can manage it through thoughtfully to protect existing residents. First, we need strong tenant protections, including relocation assistance, transition support. When redevelopment happens, existing residents should have time and resources to find suitable housing, ideally within our community. Second, we must address the root cause, artificial housing scarcity. By allowing more diverse housing types throughout the city, we reduce pressure on existing affordable units and create more options for working families. This includes enabling middle housing like duplexes and townhomes that provide more affordable options without requiring massive infrastructure investments. Third, our fee in lieu system needs to generate adequate funding for affordable housing. Current fees should reflect the actual cost of creating affordable housing, ensuring that growth communities meaningfully to drive affordability solutions. Fourth, we need tools that preserve affordability long term. This includes supporting existing affordable housing operators, providing rehabilitation funding for aging units, and ensuring that subsidized housing remains affordable permanently. I was part of the creation of Bellevue's comprehensive plan, the policy you referred to, HO 32, for anti-displacement strategies. But we need to implement it more aggressively in order to create opportunities for everyone, including those who are already here. Thanks.
Thank you for your response. So the displacement of existing residents isn't the only dynamic at play. There are also many small minority-owned and community-serving businesses that struggle to stay open despite offering important and culturally significant goods and services that residents rely on in many cases. For this next question, each of you will have 60 seconds to respond. So what type of policies, programs, or actions would you support for a small minority-owned and community-serving business, especially in areas where we are seeing increased commercial displacement, such as near public transportation, infrastructure, and public amenities? For this question, we'll start with Candidate Clark.
Thank you. Now, I have spoken with many small and often minority-owned businesses the last 2-3 years, struggling to stay in Bellevue. I do support using density bonuses to encourage developers to include commercial space for small and community-serving businesses, just like we already do for affordable housing. These businesses are essential, really, for our quality of life in Bellevue. We don't want to have to drive to Covington every time we need a windshield fixed, or toys for a birthday party, or a restaurant meal with a two-digit price. We, as a community, are better off when we find ways to keep these small businesses in Bellevue. And I think, since I've got 20 seconds, the other thing I would add is that in general, our business community is either overregulated or underregulated. And if we are piling on overregulation to small businesses that have the least effective or the least bandwidth to handle it, that's going to be part of the problem as well.
Thank you, Candidate Clark. Candidate Tan, we'll go to you next.
All right. Yeah, thank you for asking this. I think for a lot of this, I think there's a lot of opportunity to help these businesses modernize, right? From making sure they have a website, making sure they have multiple language options, giving them SEO and implementing a CRM with them, customer relationship management system, right? There's a lot that we can be helping them with. There's a lot that we should be implementing programs to make sure they can modernize. And for businesses, this isn't applicable to, because there's a couple of those too. I think there should be grants for businesses that operate for the public good. Right? I understand there's free market and all that, but when we see a grocery store become a dealership, like what happened down in Eastgate, it's a big loss. It's a big loss for everybody in the community. And when we talk about funding that, right, I want to see a vacancy tax for commercial real estate, not just residential, because I don't like seeing the vacant storefronts. I'm sick of it. I think a lot of people are. The benefit of that, right, we flesh out our community centers more. We get more small businesses moving in. We lower commercial rents for the small businesses that want to move in because they're taxed if they leave them empty. And we're able to raise revenue to help them. That's a triple win. Everybody wins there.
Great. Thank you, Candidate Tan. Candidate Bhargava, we go to you next.
Yeah. Thank you. Small businesses are a community's lifeline. They're essential to not just our economic vitality, but also driving community character and fostering equity. However, they face the same affordability challenges as residents. My approach focuses on removing barriers and creating supportive environments for local entrepreneurs. First, we need to address commercial rent pressure through zoning that allows diverse business types throughout the city, not just in expensive commercial corridors. This includes allowing home-based businesses, corner stores, and the kinds of enterprises that usually serve our daily needs. When we approve major developments, we should prioritize businesses that serve community needs and hire locally. Second, we need to streamline permitting and reduce regulatory barriers for small businesses, just as we're doing for housing, making it easier and more predictable to open and operate a business. Third, we should prioritize technical assistance and support specifically for minority-owned and immigrant-owned businesses. These entrepreneurs often face additional challenges in accessing capital and navigating city processes. The goal is creating an economy that serves community needs while providing opportunities for local entrepreneurs to thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Chang, we'll go to you next.
Okay. The unique character of Bellevue is largely thanks to our small, minority-owned, and community-serving businesses. To help prevent their displacement and help them thrive, particularly in areas experiencing rapid change, my focus would be on three legs. First, we must streamline city permitting and licensing processes, making it less burdensome and faster for these businesses to open, operate, and adapt. Second, I'd advocate for enhanced business assistance and education programs, specifically tailored to the needs of diverse entrepreneurs, helping them navigate complex regulations and access capital. Finally, as we plan for growth near transit, we must implement inclusionary zoning for commercial spaces, encouraging mixed-use developments to reserve affordable commercial units. This ensures that the essential services and cultural vibrancy these businesses provide remain accessible to all residents. Thank you.
Thank you, Candidate Chang. So in our next section, the questions will focus on revenue and funding, especially for affordable housing. Financial returns from low-income housing development are not high enough to incentivize traditional banking institutions and housing developers to finance and construct, despite the community need for below-market housing. Subsidy is necessary to address the lack of availability for below-market housing. A single new housing development often uses 5 or more different types of competitive funding from federal, state, regional, local, and/or private sources. Governments at all levels have many opportunities to collect revenue for affordable housing from a variety of sources, including taxes, levies, fees. Local funding in particular makes it possible for new developments to be competitive in applying for state and federal resources needed to fund affordable community. Given this reality, what local revenue source would you support to help finance and the production and operation of affordable housing? Please make your responses in about 90 seconds each, and we'll start with Candidate Tan.
Thank you. To answer the question, yes, I agree there's a need for non-market housing, and absolutely, options to meet this need are really expensive. If you're asking me ways to raise revenue, I think we got to look at what doesn't take money from the regular, ordinary people of this city. Personally, I want to look at a vacancy tax. Again, vacancy tax. This doesn't hurt the working family. It doesn't hurt people on fixed income. It doesn't even hurt landlords because they're renting out their units, right? We're taxing people who have their homes and they're leaving them completely empty. Maybe it's their third, fifth, 10th home. Nobody's living there. The lights are off more than 6 months in a year. These homes are just a store of value for foreign investors, speculators, or they're like some out-of-state person's fifth or 10th holiday home. They can pay a little extra to keep that home empty. And we can use that money to support our communities, right? This has been done successfully so in other cities. It's great to see. They've raised over 100 million in BC. We combine that with an increased tax on Airbnbs, we got ourselves a good amount of money. It also has the added side benefit of lowering rents and increasing our market supply.
Thank you, Candidate Tan. We'll go next to Candidate Bhargava.
Yeah. Affordable housing funding must be both adequate and sustainable. We need diverse revenue sources that can support the scale of affordable housing our community needs. First, our impact fees and fee in lieu needs to be reflective of the actual cost of affordable housing. Fees should be reflective of the economic realities of the area and the ability to meaningfully address our housing shortage. I support fees that fully fund affordable housing production, not just token contributions. Second, we must reduce regulatory barriers that inflate affordable housing costs. Every dollar we have saved in streamlined permitting can help add the resources we have for affordable housing. Third, we should aggressively pursue state and federal funding opportunities. Our new Office of Housing should constantly seek grants and partnerships that leverage our local investments. And I also believe that we have to be really careful about how we prioritize our scarce resources. And I believe, and I will advocate and support pivoting our Office of Housing to be focused on affordable housing only. Market rate housing will build itself. Political will and advocacy are also critical in bringing private sector partners to the table. We already have organizations like Amazon and Microsoft contributing, but the business community is much larger than that. We can strategically drive advocacy and developing shared mental models and bringing them to the table. The key is creating predictable, sustainable funding that developers can count on while ensuring that those who benefit from our strong economy contribute to the housing solutions that we really need.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to Candidate Chang.
Thank you. We know that below market units won't happen without robust public support, and local revenue is a crucial foundation. My leadership will focus on strategically optimizing Bellevue's existing assets, enhancing financial tools to unlock more affordable housing. I firmly support optimizing city-owned surplus land, making it available at reduced cost or through long-term leases to experienced nonprofit developers like HomeSite. My direct collaboration with HomeSite on the 68-unit limited equity co-op, ULU, vividly highlights how leveraging city assets and fee in lieu's can drastically reduce upfront project costs and increase feasibility. Additionally, I would advocate for enhancing our existing home stability program, funded by a portion of our sales tax, to ensure it remains a robust and consistent funding stream. We need to explore and expand the use of other creative, innovative public-private partnerships that can bring in capital beyond traditional government sources. My goal is to use every tool at our disposal to generate consistent local capital needed to build and operate homes that meet our community's diverse needs. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we'll go to Candidate Clark.
Do you think that our fee and lieu programs are a great tool for generating funding that's also very flexible? I am cautious about new taxes or levies. Again, displacement doesn't just happen through rents. Many seniors tell me they're being taxed out of their homes. I know I've said that before, but I think it's important to restate. That's a real form of affordability, or unaffordability rather. As other speakers have noted, Bellevue does have a great track record pursuing and securing public-private partnerships and grants at the federal, state, and even county level. Definitely, we should be maximizing those before asking residents for more. I would, in my 50 seconds, take issue slightly with the Mr. Bhargava's statement about how market rate housing will build itself. We definitely have a desirable place for developers to build in Bellevue. Do not disagree with that. With significantly longer times on permitting than competitive cities like Austin or Nashville, though, there are definitely some downsides to building in Bellevue as well. And pushing too hard on the fee and lieu number which is essentially, let's be clear, a tax on housing to fund housing, we risk making market rate units more expensive for those entry-level market rate folks, but also some projects just may not get off the ground.
Thank you for your response. In 2025, the 2025 rental limits for affordable housing in King County shows that an individual making 80% of area median income still makes around $85K per year. This is not typically the income range that people think of when they think about affordable housing. Yet someone making 80% AMI can still qualify for certain types of income-restricted affordable housing. The need for affordable housing also includes those who make low or no income and require supportive services and specific help. The need for supportive housing and services often exceeds what exists on our Eastside cities. So do you support additional investments and resources for people who are unhoused and who need supportive services? Are there any programs or services that you specifically support or oppose? Each of you will have 30 seconds to respond to this question, and we'll begin with candidate Bhargava.
Yes, absolutely. I strongly support investment in services for unhoused individuals and supportive housing. Public safety is a collective effort, and we should do everything we can to reduce the burden to our first responders. Every person we can connect with appropriate services and housing is someone who gets the help they need while also improving community safety, well-being, and equity. Really important problem that we have to solve together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to candidate Chang.
Thank you. I absolutely support additional investment in resources for our unhoused neighbors, especially those needing supportive services. It is critical to remember that homelessness is often complex, requiring more than just a roof. I specifically advocate for increased funding for wraparound services, including mental health care, substance use treatment, and case management delivered in conjunction with shelter and permanent supportive housing. Programs that prioritize connection to long-term stability and health, like safe parking programs, and the partnership with organizations like HopeLink or Sophia Way are essential for the compassionate and effective solutions in Bellevue.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to candidate Clark.
Thank you. I think you're giving us 30 extra seconds on this question, by the way, just to point that out. I do support additional investment in shelter and in safe parking. That's crucial to make sure that folks stay in as much of a stable environment as possible, those safe parking programs. And I do, as the other speakers noted, support a pairing with wraparound services in both of those cases. I do think, though, that we also need a solution for individuals who can't access current shelters due to behavioral issues. If you pay attention to the police blotter, you'll know that there are individuals who have been trespassed from porch light in Eastgate, and there needs to be some solution both for those individuals as well as for the community for which they can be somewhat disruptive. That's probably going to require partnership with the county and fundamentally new models of care, but we need to be working towards that.
Thank you for your response.
They each have 30 seconds. The timer cuts off at 30 seconds. So
okay. Watch that. All right. Candidate Ton.
Yeah, I want to say it's really nice to hear everybody say yes here to the initial question, right? Supporting investment for people who are unhoused and for people that are making under 30% AMI. As for programs, again, I want to give Eddie a big 2 thumbs up. Social housing, public housing, wraparound services, of course, right? We need mental health counseling, addiction treatment, but also, additionally, I want to see us provide job training, expanded apprenticeship programs, ideally with unions. I'd love to partner with them to provide vocational training and certifications because we want these people to have a way out and a way up.
Okay. Thank you for your responses, and I apologize for the mix-up with the timer. Thank you for your grace for that. Our next question asks about supportive housing. So supportive housing is a topic that elicits a range of options and emotions. How will you navigate strong opinions from residents or stakeholders, especially when you might disagree? Please respond to this question, and each response will be 60 seconds long, and we'll begin with candidate Chang.
Thank you. Navigating strong opinions on supportive housing requires more than just listening. It requires active, collaborative problem solving. When disagreements arrive, I won't shy away from them. Instead, I'll commit to inclusive engagement process that brings diverse perspectives to the table, not just those who speak the loudest. This means utilizing structured workshops, small group discussions, and community advisory committees to delve into the concerns, identify potential impacts, and collaboratively seek mitigation strategies. My priority will be to find solutions that address the valid neighborhood concerns while upholding our commitment to supporting those of our most vulnerable residents. I believe that by working together, acknowledging legitimate fears, and focusing on mutually beneficial outcomes, we can build a supportive housing our community needs in a way that strengthens rather than divides our neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Clark, we'll go to you next.
Yes, thanks. Supportive housing only works when it earns and keeps the trust of both its residents and its neighbors. That means clear expectations, safety plans, and definitely accountability. When the council implemented HB 1195 a number of years ago, mandated zoning changes to allow permanent supportive housing throughout the city, we had opportunities to add guardrails like minimum separation between the sites, making sure they didn't clump together in our most affordable neighborhoods, clear reporting standards. Those were left on the table by the council majority at that time, and I think we should revisit them. When people raise concerns, we can't just call them NIMBYs and move on. We have to listen, respond, and show that council is engaged, watching, and insisting on accountability. The security and stability in these sites are crucial both to those living in them as well as to those in the surrounding neighborhoods.
Thank you. Candidate Ton.
All right. Yeah, it's true. Supportive housing is super controversial, right? And it's a little, it's insipid to say that we have to listen, but let me try to expand on that a little bit. What I mean is we gotta listen to people in the language they feel safest in the places that they feel safe in, which is we going to them with small specific forums. Maybe we go to them at a church, at a park, at a cafe, or in their break room. We need to be outside of City Hall because in City Hall, there's the push and pull of voices. Temperatures are raised a little higher, and people, right, we dig our heels into rhetoric. When somebody says they're worried about their safety, I don't think it's good to be hitting them back with statistics or studies, right? We have to ask them what experience did they have that shaped their worries. And we got to bring in as well their firefighters, their teachers, and neighbors, their neighbors who are formerly homeless, people who have benefited from supportive housing, and people who can speak about it from their lived experience, right? We have to put faces to ideas and names to faces. That's something that's going to be the strongest thing we can do here. If we center stories that are neighbor to neighbor and we follow it up with transparency, we can turn supportive housing from something that's a scary label to something that is a shared community investment that makes our city safer, makes our city cleaner, and it makes us more human.
Thank you, Candidate Ton. Next to Candidate Bhargava.
Yeah, during my time on the council and on the planning commission, I've navigated contentious issues a number of times. I've learned that respectful dialogue and shared facts are essential. When emotions run high, job is to listen carefully, acknowledge concerns, and focus on our shared values. Always start with what we agree on. Most residents want safe, affordable, vibrant neighborhoods. We may disagree on methods, but we share these goals. I bring data and examples from successful projects in other communities to move conversations and opinions to problem solve. I also acknowledge that concerns are often rooted in legitimate experiences. When someone worries about impacts, I want to understand those concerns and address those through good planning, adequate resources, and ongoing community support. Most importantly, I ensure that most impacted by housing policy, which are families struggling with housing costs, workers, service providers, have equal opportunity to weigh in on these conversations. Public processes should include all community members, not just those with the time and resources to participate. My job is to facilitate them in ways that move us forward. That means being both clear in conviction and collaborative in finding solutions that work for all of us.
Okay, thank you for your response. So the ability of people to find and obtain housing and specific services is also influenced by language, culture, and other hyperlocal factors. The ability of an organization to even recognize and respond to a community need can be cultural and linguistic. This is one area where community-based organizations are particularly well equipped to respond effectively and appropriately. This creates some value that is easily measured and others also that is more difficult to measure, such as building relationships and retaining community members through equitable development. The next question will have 60 seconds to respond to. So what financing or partnership approaches do you think are particularly important for the city to consider when working with or funding community-based organizations? We'll begin with candidate Clark.
Yeah, as you say, community-based organizations are essential partners in delivering housing services and support. I've talked with leaders of several, and it's important that they provide that support in ways that are culturally competent and locally trusted, ways that city staff aren't always capable of doing as well. They often succeed where larger institutions like city organizations fall short because they build relationships, and we should ensure our funding models reflect that. One approach is to offer free or low-cost meeting and program space in city facilities. Real estate is often prohibitive when it comes to the cost of securing a space to meet. We should improve how city staff connect with these groups. We have some really exciting opportunities with AI-based translation tools that we should leverage. That's not going to be a replacement for relationships with non-English speaking communities, but it can spark the first connection and potentially make that bridge to a community-based organization that's more appropriate. My time is up, so I'll leave off the last paragraph. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Ton, we'll come to you next.
Hey, yeah, I'll say I love our CBOs. They do good work. And I think we got to trust them, right? Trust is so important here, especially when we talk about funding. We should not and we cannot be acting as stingy bankers, right? I want to see us giving them trust-based multi-year grants because that lets them do long-term planning for projects. When I say trust-based, I mean, we got to trust them. They're the people that are closest to the problem. And we have the ability as well, if we want to bake in incentive, we can, right? I think if we see them having big and positive impact in a community and that community is really being uplifted, it's going to also show in city revenue. I want to see us sharing that with him. We can see how much. We can share that with them. Like maybe a recurring local endowment that grows because they're having a positive impact on our communities.
Thank you. Candidate Bhargava, we'll go to you next.
Okay, thank you. Community-based organizations are essential partners because they bring cultural competency, community trust, and on-the-ground expertise that city government alone cannot provide. They deserve funding approaches that recognize their unique value. First, we need multi-year funding commitments that allow organizations to plan and build capacity. One-year grants create uncertainty that undermine effectiveness and prevent strategic planning. Second, we should reduce administrative burden. Small organizations shouldn't have to spend disproportionate amounts on paperwork and reporting. We should streamline processes that focus on outcomes, not just compliance. Three, we need funding that allow organizations to collaborate rather than compete. When groups work together, they are more effective at serving their community and addressing complex challenges. Lastly, we should ensure that funding reflects the diversity of communities we serve. This means supporting organizations led by people from different backgrounds and communities, including those who have been historically underrepresented in the city decision-making processes. These organizations make our city stronger by connecting residents to services, advocating for community needs, and building relationships that make democracy work. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Chang.
Thank you. Recognizing and effectively responding to our community needs. The CBOs are great at, especially those are influenced by language and cultures where CBOs excel. Their ability to build trust and retain community members is invaluable, even if it's hard to quantify. When funding or partnering, the city must shift its mindset to provide core operating support, not just project-specific funds. Helping the CBOs with their operating support allows them to invest in their unique strengths, their cultural expertise, linguistic capabilities, and deep community roots. I would advocate for co-creation models where city leadership and community-based organizations collaboratively design solutions, valuing their lived experience as much as our city staff's professional expertise. By investing in their inherent value and removing administrative obstacles, we can empower these organizations to be true drivers of equitable development and inclusive community health in Bellevue.
Thank you for your responses. Our next section is going to ask questions about specific housing policy areas. Inclusionary zoning or affordable housing requirement has been an area of debate in local jurisdictions for decades. According to MRSC, inclusionary zoning requires affordable units to be included within new residential developments or requires payment of affordable units elsewhere. In theory, this leverages value created through upzones and captures some of this new value for public benefit. There are upcoming opportunities in Bellevue to implement inclusionary zoning or incentives in areas receiving upzones like Bellred and mixed-use areas. In what cases do you support or oppose inclusionary zoning? And are there any technical policy details you think are important for the city to consider? Please make each of your responses 90 seconds, and we'll begin with candidate Ton.
All right. I'm so happy to be the starter here. I think me personally, it's probably the only way we're going to have even semi-affordable housing privately developed. And especially if we want to have mixed income communities and we talk about equitable growth, it's the only option I know of that we're going to have the private sector build housing for low income residents. There's no other way. But I don't like the current form. I think inclusionary zoning, it should be mandatory. The affordable housing, it should be permanent. And you know what? Maybe it needs to be profitable to build, right? Otherwise, nothing gets built, right? That third portion, the profitability, we cover that with inclusionary zoning, partnering that with upzones. If I had my way, we upzone our transit corridors and we pair every extra story that they're allowed to build with some public good, right? Maybe it's 30% of units to be locked in permanently as affordable housing instead of temporarily. And sure, let them pay the tripled fee in lieu, but have it go straight into a community land trust. Let that go to a nonprofit that outbids them on the next parcel. I think we should also be working to end exclusionary zoning, especially in our single-family neighborhoods. I want to see more duplexes, triplexes, and ADUs too.
Thank you for your response. Candidate Bhargava, we'll go to you next.
Yeah, I support inclusionary zoning as an essential tool for ensuring that new development creates housing opportunities for working families, not just luxury units. My experience in the Planning Commission has shown me that details matter enormously here for effectiveness. First, inclusionary zoning works best in high-demand areas where land values can support affordable requirements. Bellred and our mixed-use areas are perfect examples where upzoning creates enough value to support meaningful affordability contributions. Second, we need flexibility in implementation. Developers should be able to meet requirements through on-site units, off-site units, fee in lieu payments. This allows us to get affordable units where it works best while still capturing value from development. We cannot let the perfect get in the way of good, and we have to build pragmatic solutions to make progress here. Third, requirements must be calibrated to market conditions and require regular updates. If we set requirements too high, we'll discourage development entirely. And if we set them too low, we create no meaningful affordability. This requires ongoing monitoring and adjustment. 4, we should prioritize on-site affordable units when feasible. Economic integration benefits everyone and ensures that affordable housing has access to the same amenities and services as market rate units. And lastly, affordability controls should be long-term, not temporary. We've heard this. And we need mechanisms to ensure that units remain affordable for decades, not just a few years. The goal really is to ensure that our city grows. We capture value from development to create opportunities for residents across all income levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Chang, we'll go to you next.
Thank you. Inclusionary zoning has the potential to create much needed affordable housing, particularly as Bellevue grows and upzones areas like Bellred. I supported strategic implementation as a tool to ensure our growth benefits all income levels, but also with a paramount goal of that housing actually gets built. The most important detail is collaborative policy design. We must engage directly with developers, affordable housing advocates, and community members to craft regulations that are effective yet feasible. This means considering tiered affordability levels that respond to different market conditions within various upzoned areas. We should also explore innovative approaches like performance-based incentives, where developers gain additional flexibility or bonuses for achieving deeper levels of affordability or faster construction timelines. Our focus must be outcome-oriented. How do we get the maximum number of new affordable units built efficiently? My commitment is to foster a system where inclusionary zoning is a win-win, creating more homes for Bellevue families without stifling the development pipeline. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Clark, we'll come to you next.
Okay, well, I get to be different. I do oppose mandatory inclusionary zoning. The idea sounds appealing, but the reality is that it can seriously hinder housing production. It's always tempting to think that you can get the balance right, and a lot of people have tried to outsmart the market and have failed. When we micromanage projects and add costly mandates, developers are much more likely to walk away. That means fewer total units, fewer affordable units, more upward pressure on rents, and a housing shortage delay is the enemy. Can also create legal risk. We've seen cities face lawsuits from developers over inclusionary policies, and even if the city wins, the litigation costs and uncertainty hurt our ability to deliver housing quickly, and I think hurt our reputation as the kind of place where developers want to come and build the housing that we need. Instead, we should stick to our incentive-based tools that are already working to the extent that they can work in a difficult environment. FAR bonus program lets developers build higher and denser. We should continue to address our affordability means in that way, allowing more creativity by the developers, more creativity on the part of building designers. And if we want to go further, we can expand those incentives and maybe prioritize them in areas near transit or in projects that include family-friendly units, something we'll touch on in just a bit.
Thank you all for your responses. So recently, Eastside cities passed their comprehensive plans to plan for population growth and future opportunities and challenges over the next 20 plus years. This plan includes new residential capacity in the form of modified density and heights through updated zoning maps and new policies. While comp plan sets a vision for the future, this vision will only be realized if it's implemented faithfully. In particular, implementing new zoning can be controversial, even if it is aligned with a comprehensive plan. So this next question has two parts, and each of you will have 90 seconds to respond. Part one, where do you think new residential capacity should go? And part two, are there any approaches to growth that you'd support to ensure new housing has equitable access to parks, schools, community space, and jobs? We'll start with candidate Bhargava.
Okay, thank you. Part one to your question, where should new residential capacity go? New residential capacity should go in areas that make sense for transportation services and community building. This means prioritizing areas near transit stations, employment centers, and existing infrastructure can support the density. Belgrade is a great example where we are creating new urban center with light rail access, job opportunities, and mixed-use development. Downtown Bellevue and other transit-oriented locations should also absorb significant growth. We should also be able to do more diverse housing types throughout our neighborhoods. Duplexes, townhomes, and small apartment buildings increase housing options without requiring a lot of extra infrastructure investment. This approach distributes growth more evenly and creates housing opportunities in all parts of our city, and is an approach I vocally and strongly supported during the Middle Housing Board on Council last month. To the second part of your question, approaches to ensure equitable access. First, we need to require affordable housing contributions in all new development areas through inclusionary zoning and impact fees. Second, this ensures that families of all income levels have access to parks and services. Second, we must invest in infrastructure and services alongside housing. New development should contribute to parks, schools, and community facilities through impact fees. Three, we should prioritize walkability and transit access. New housing should be designed so residents can access the jobs and services and the schools through multiple options. The goal is ensuring that growth creates complete communities where everyone can thrive. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Chang, we'll come to you next.
Thank you. Well, for part one, I believe new residential capacity should be diversified. While our major centers and transit corridors are vital, and transit development is the core of where majority of our development will go, we need to allow for more missing middle housing types like duplexes, townhouse, and cottage housing within existing neighborhoods. This was supported by state legislation, House Bill 1110 and 1337. This provides housing choices for more income levels and integrates new capacity throughout our well-established communities while still fitting into the character of the neighborhood. For part two, ensuring equitable access means we must be proactive, not reactive, with our infrastructure planning. This involves dedicated funding for new park spaces, expanding school capacity when needed, and investing in safe pedestrian and bike networks that can connect these new homes directly to community assets. We need to create 15-minute neighborhoods where residents can access daily needs without driving. My commitment is to ensure that as Bellevue grows, every new resident has genuine access to the resources that make our city so livable, no matter where they call home. Thank you.
Thank you. Candidate Clark, we'll come to you next.
Hi, yeah, the vast majority of Bellevue's new residential capacity should and will go into our designated growth corridors. Downtown Wilburton, Belred, that triangle, as well as Eastgate and Factoria. These areas already have or plan to have the infrastructure we need for smart, sustainable growth, like high-capacity transit, walkable neighborhoods, and access to services and retail. Concentrating density there allows us to take full advantage of the transit investments, light rail and bus rapid transit. It also helps us reduce emissions, lower infrastructure costs, and preserve existing neighborhoods. Density alone, though, is not enough. We have to grow thoughtfully, co-locating housing near jobs and services, but also building parks and trails as the population increases, especially in places where we don't have access today. I supported the 2023 Parks Levy in part because it prioritizes underserved areas and future growth areas, which are a different type of underserved area that lack green space. It's easy to think of neighborhoods like Eastgate, which we're addressing in Factoria, as having insufficient park resources, but density can also create overcrowded parks, which is another type of shortage. We need to plan for families as well, not just with studios and one-bedroom units. We need to incentivize developers to build multi-bedroom units, maybe smaller rooms and smaller spaces, but allowing for larger families, and also adding incentives for family-focused amenities like playgrounds and on-site childcare. City doesn't have authority over schools, but I think additional family-friendly housing will enable more children to live here and help with our school district's current challenges.
Thank you. Candidate Ton, we'll come to you next.
All right. Yeah, the question is, where do I think residential capacity should go? I mean, my answer is anywhere it can go. We need more housing, right? But I understand the political will is limited, and the way of least friction is going to be focusing on transit corridors, where our buses and light rail are, right? We can and we should be upzoning those areas. We should be looking at making mixed-use neighborhoods. I want to see ground floor retail, right? Shops, stores, clinics, and kitchens. It's crazy what we're doing. We're mandating parking lots for buildings right next to light rail, next to transit centers. I don't know what we're doing, right? The empty parking lots on Belred, and there's like weedy lots next to our light rail stops. Those could be permanently affordable, nonprofit run, and hopefully union built housing, right? There's empty speculative lots that are held by investors that are just private there. I want to see us making them use or lose those lots, right? Maybe we tax them on the value of the land. And for the second question of approaches to growth to ensure new housing has equitable access, we keep waiting for growth to generate equity. We need to be building it in proactively. That's what I think. I want to see us requiring that every building has a livability score, right? Can a resident that lives there walk or bike to a grocery store? Can they get to a clinic? Can they get to a bus line within 15 minutes? And if they can't, we have that developer pay to fund a community trust that gets us there. I think we got to stop building housing in isolation, and we have to start building it alongside infrastructure and community requirements so that the people that live here can have good access to the services they need.
Thank you. So as we conclude our event, we wanted to thank all of our candidates for taking the time to share their perspectives on these important issues around belonging, access, and affordable housing. Before we end, we'd like to provide one last opportunity for our candidates to share an open-ended response. So in 60 seconds, which will be the timing for this question response, please share any final reflections and why you think that Bellevue voters should support you for City Council. And we'll begin with candidate Chang.
Bellevue has given so much to me. It's where I grew up, live, work, and where I'm raising my family. My 19 years in real estate have given me a unique and practical understanding of our city's needs, from the housing crisis to supporting our local businesses. I'm running for city council because I'm ready to bring my commitment to servant leadership and collaborative problem solving to the forefront. My priorities are clear: securing more affordable housing and childcare for all families, ensuring our public spaces are safe, fostering responsible economic growth that champions our small businesses, and fiercely protecting our environment for future generations. I believe Bellevue's strength lies in its diverse people and its innovative spirit. I will bring transparency, inclusion, and a pragmatic approach to every decision. Bellevue deserves leadership that is truly invested, experienced, and ready to work tirelessly for a thriving and equitable and sustainable future for every resident. I ask you all for your support. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to candidate Clark.
Thank you. Thank you for the chance to speak tonight. I live in the heart of Bellevue's growth downtown. As I said earlier, urban living is not an abstraction to me and my family. We live it every day, just as I've done for over 20 years. I'm the only one who's ever run for council that can actually say that Bellevue downtown, as we know it today, that I've been there for multiple decades. That's why I'm running. Because council needs someone with skin in the game. I've said it before, understands the real impacts of these decisions on housing, on safety, on transportation, and quality of life. Also, though, as an engineer and small business owner, I do bring a practical approach to solving problems. And as someone who served for nearly a decade on Bellevue's boards and commissions, I've learned how the city works. I've done my homework. I've learned how to work with others as well as the community and deliver results. Those roles have given me a lot of experience listening, learning from our residents, and turning their thought into action. I've campaigned similarly, meeting the voters where they're at, 8,000 doors, because I love this city and I want to make sure your voice is heard.
Thank you. Next, we'll go to candidate Ton.
All right. Yeah, I want to say, Paul, I hear you, brother. I live in Wilburton. But you've heard a lot from us today. You've heard about our wants, our values. And, I think after this, I recommend you go to pdc.wa.gov after this and see how much people are spending on consulting services. They're paying people to tell them what they think that you want to hear. They pay consultants to tell them what they should say, what they should do, what they should think. Ask yourself how much of their words were their own tonight and why'd they sound so similar? How much do you really know about them and what do they really think? How much of what came out of their mouths tonight is something that they paid someone else to tell them that this is what they should say to sound good? I'll tell you, I don't have any consultants. I'm not paying anybody to tell me what you want to hear. When I talk about the things tonight that I care about and things tonight that I want to get done, that's what you're going to get if you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. And candidate Bhargava, we'll come to you next.
Okay, thank you. Thanks again for the opportunity today. I'm asking for your vote because I bring a unique combination of technical expertise, community relationships, and a proven record of delivering results in Bellevue to address our housing challenges. My background in architecture, urban planning, combined with 5 years in the Planning Commission, including serving as a chair when we did the comprehensive plan update last year, gave me a deep insight into housing challenges we face today. I've already delivered results. Our success in Wilburton that has brought together private developers and affordable housing to Bellevue's 2044 comprehensive plan amendments that create opportunities for growth while serving community needs. I understand how cities work and how to make them work for everyone. Expertise, of course, and time spent in development isn't enough. Spent years building relationships with developers, neighbors, community advocates, listening to our residents. I listen, I learn, try to find the common ground, and make progress on the hardest challenges we have. Bellevue is at a crossroads. We can grow thoughtfully and create opportunities for everyone, or we can let housing costs continue to push our teachers, our service providers, and young families out of the community. I'm committed to the first path, a Bellevue that embraces smart growth, prioritizes affordability, and ensures that everyone has the opportunity to call this beautiful city home. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone, for joining us for the Eastside Housing Equity Coalition for the Bellevue Position 1 Primary Candidate Forum. We would, of course, like to offer all our sincere gratitude and thanks to all the candidates for joining us as well. We wish you all a lovely evening and thank you all again for being with us this evening. Have a good one.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.